fighting for this title. And he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
Yes, everyone, welcome to another episode of The Warm Down. Today, joined by my mate, Jamie Jackson. How you doing, Jay?
Good to see you. How are you?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Fair to middling, a bit like your football team, right?
Oh, my God. What a shit season this has been. Do you know what? It's the hope that kills, isn't it? Started off shit, then it got well good for about 10 weeks, and it's ended well shit.
So here's my question then. Would you rather have had that or it just been awful all the way through?
Probably just be awful.
Oh, really? Interesting, because from my point of view, covering it, it's been quite a good story to do, really. But the end, yeah, it's not great, I have to say. As I was saying to you earlier off air, I thought you were going to get third at one point. You know, I really did.
He's come third in the Ollie table, the table since Ollie took over.
Yeah.
Which means that what's really undone us is the form prior to that. But there's no excuse for the last 6 weeks or so.
For me, the two results that have killed you at this part of the season, I tell you what you mean, it was the start that's really done it, is Wolves and Everton away, obviously. You know, not the FA Cup game, the league game.
Huddersfield.
But you had those 6 points, and suddenly you go into Huddersfield. You know.
Yeah, you beat Huddersfield. Well, yeah, if we have them 6 points, then we're already third. I would think mathematically.
Yeah.
Whereas, even if we beat Huddersfield, it's still possible. Somehow, everyone else is as shit as we've been. Chelsea are in there on their early season form. When Sarri took over, it was fantastic.
Yes.
Tottenham are how are Tottenham up till last week, up till weekend, lost 13 games.
Yeah.
Third. I was trying to have a look where that gets you most years, and actually it's higher than I thought.
Is it?
It's about 7th, yeah.
Right, okay. They don't draw many, obviously, but...
What? Is it 1 they've drawn?
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah, United, what can I say? Here we are again. Another sort of post-Sir Alex Ferguson end of season, not inquest, but yeah, sort of inquest, wondering...
Autopsy.
bit of Quincy.
But it's
the scalpel.
The club's got issues on it. And I think, while I'm bored of hearing myself saying it, let alone everyone else watching me say it, I think there's been a case of we've got an ownership model that's here for good enough, and just good enough gets us Champions League money, and just good enough gets us all of those juicy little sponsorships, but you're competing with just good enough against those who want everything, and that's not going to work.
Yeah, I think... You say issues, and I mean, it's basically the same problem. I would say challenges. So, can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this summer say to Ed Woodward, Executive Vice Chairman, this is what we need doing, not just in terms of transfers, which obviously front of house is stuff that matters on the pitch, but as you were saying off air before, behind the scenes, can they sort out this technical director? Very important. I'm told it's not an overarching sporting director like Big Aristine or director of football role. No, it's more of a sort of a long-term strategy for the first team, looking at the so it kind of sounds the same, but the one thing that person or this role isn't going to have is responsibility for actually getting the deals over the line, the actual signing of it. Now, you might say, is that good or bad? For me, if it works, it works. But Matt Judge is still going to be responsible for that role.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when people go, can Woodward get the deals over the line? Can Woodward do? When he sits down with Woodward, it's Matt Judge who does that.
Yeah.
And I think people mix that up a little bit. I think Ed has to sign them off, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. But Matt Judge is the sort of the nitty-gritty fixer, if you want to sort of go that way. My ideal person can do both. And you might think I'm saying it because it's just been in the news, or the Ajax are just news. But I think Van Der Sar is perfect because he's ex-United, saved the penalty that won you the Champions League. I'll give you a smile. But he went to Ajax originally as a business person.
Just about remember
that. He was a suit originally at Ajax. He wasn't a football. He got an MBA after he finished playing, and he's a smart cookie. And he's basically kind of done it at Ajax. And I think he would go at United. Why not him? Because he's got the glamour of being an ex-United.
My issue with that is that why would you? You're the CEO. The buck stops with you. The top of the tree. For me, it's a demotion.
It's Manchester United, isn't it?
See, a lot of people say it is Manchester United. But this is an Ajax team probably going to win a Champions League, or if not, be in a final at least.
Yeah. I mean,
that's how you run a football club for me. Football first.
You might be right. Why would he go? But what I'm saying is, why don't they try and get him? There's two different things then. If they say to him, and this is kind of what I'm saying about the back of our stuff they need to sort out, identify a world-class candidate, if it's him or whoever, and then just say to that person, right, this is what you're going to have responsibility for. This is your show. We're here to support you with the money and whatever else, but you're basically going to do.
What sort of salary would you think Van der Sar's on?
Now?
Yeah.
That's a very good question off the top of my head.
1.5, 2 million a year?
Yeah, I mean, Ajax doesn't pay a heck of a lot to its top players, so yeah, probably in that region. I really couldn't tell you, but they could triple that.
Yeah, if you
quadruple it.
We've got 20 million a year to make the most gangster ninja backroom staff you've ever seen. That's gonna make sure that there's not a 3-year-old who kicks a ball with a bit of potential that we don't know about. There's not a let's be honest, there's a bit of a shady business transfers. There's a lot of favours, there's a lot of backhanders, there's a lot of, scratch my back and I'll scratch yours going on. Are you telling me that United, with the pull of us, with the money that we've got, can't assemble the most competent, glamorous even, backroom staff that would, like a lot of people was thinking Eric Cantona was going to announce himself as director of football not so long ago, before the cock and the egg incident. For me, that the director of football, it's an admin role. It's a guy that's got to have his finger on the pulse in Slovakian league. He's got to have contacts in the Dutch league. I'm not sure Cantona's that guy, but Joe, I think Cantona could do, or 3 players could do. Yeah. Cantona, David Beckham, Paddy Evra, right? Have them as recruitment ambassadors.
But that's right. But that's exactly what the technical director or part of the role is, and kind of why Rio Ferdinand's in the frame for it, because of what you just said. And I think it's a smart call what you're saying, and what But if it doesn't solve the problem of recruitment, if that person isn't, then what is it still going to be the same going forward? And this is kind of, I think you're right when you say recruitment ambassadors. I think that's.
Are we losing out on deals because someone's not interested in United or hasn't been sold it? I don't think so.
It's a combination of factors now, isn't it? You're so far behind that it's not as attractive. You've not got top 4. They will say at the club, and they're probably right, that within reason most players might take coming to United if you're out of the Champions League for a season. But to be honest, that's only really if City or Bayern Munich or I don't know. The deals are out there. You were saying before, and I think you're right. You could go around the Premier League and improve United from below the top 6 or top 10.
Top 6. I'm making a brilliant football
I agree with that, but where is this sort of thinking this summer? So this is go back to the original point. He may well have a plan to do all this, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's interesting. When he went to Molde, his first ever managerial role, 2011, they'd never won the Norwegian Championship. It's always Rosenborg, basically. He won it for them in their 100th year, centenary year, retained the title.
Big one.
Right, now, you might say, it's Norwegian football, but he still had to break, a dynasty. He still had to go in there. It was his first. He's got something about him, and how he did it was sort of excellence in all areas, That's what. And they then won the Norwegian Cup, I think, in his 3rd year. So basically, every year he was there, they won a trophy before he went off to Cardiff. He's got something about him. So, you'd like to think he's going to have that kind of input, because he's smart enough. I think he's got a bit of edge. He's not just a nice guy, Ole Solskjaer. And he's got something about him.
Great stuff, and I believe he has tore strips off the dressing room. Because I've asked the question, like, he's come out in interviews and he's been all happy and he's been very smiley and very affable, which is a change, I'm sure, for you guys sitting there.
Yes, very nice
from
change.
Mourinho. But yeah, I'm sure he's gone and volleyed the door off the dressing room a couple of times as well, which has been needed.
Yeah, no, I mean,
the Everton performance, before we even get to yesterday's performance, was totally fucking gutless.
Yeah, very odd. The one my reference point for the worst since Ferguson went is Olympiacos away, right?
Yeah,
so which I did that game. I was there. Honestly, I just could not believe what I've seen.
Do you know what?
I still can't, right? And so that Everton thing was kind of close. Yeah. You're looking at it thinking.
Do you know what sticks in my mind from that Piraeus game?
Yeah.
Ashley Young no-look crosses to no fucker in the box.
Were you at the game?
No, I was watching just going.
Well, because the atmosphere, I know it's an away game, obviously, but you always get a good support. But just in the press seats, me and all my muckers were just like, what is going on here? Ashley Young, we were going back, what's that, 5 years ago now? That's 5 years ago, 2014, isn't it?
5 years ago.
So anyway, to go back to Everton, Everton reminded me of that. Kind of, you're just looking at it thinking, this is abject.
But again, much like Piraeus and Olympiacos, the component parts are there, but it don't add up. 2 plus 2 is not 4 for some reason. That's what this is the confusing thing for me as a United fan, is that I've seen the performance that we did, and it's not a new manager bounce. New manager bounce doesn't exist. It was a team that had changed its style of play very quickly. Now, half of me thinks because it's been so hectic and there's so many injuries that the team's just reverted to what it knows, and we're seeing more Mourinho and Van Gaal style football and not what Ollie wants us to play. But the difference in what we saw those early Ollie games, it was a new style.
He said something quite interesting on Friday, I thought, something new, which he said, like, we would have liked to have got a settled style of play, or set style, but it just hasn't happened that way. And maybe what he was referring to was the fact that they got knocked off course with injuries, like you just said. The other thing that's really puzzled me is, when they went to, was it Dubai they went for warm weather for a week, in January, was it? And early Feb, I can't remember. And he said, we're going to get them really fit. I'm not too sure he actually ended up getting them as fit as it, because he said since a few times that they're not fit enough now.
Well, actually, should we have a look? I don't like doing this on in the middle of a podcast, but let's have a look when that Dubai trip was, because the Liverpool game post that was when we got 4 injuries in the first half, and that for me was the turning point of the season. Let me see when that was.
Yeah, it was a really weird game, that, wasn't it?
That's a good point.
Again, he got asked on Friday, like, because I think he said it after the Everton game, we weren't fit enough, or we're not fit enough, and he was asked, well, fans are quite surprised in that, Ollie, because surely professionals should be at the last 90 minutes, which is kind of what your whole focus is, the professional football, you know what I mean? And he was like, well, I don't think anyone should be so surprised. And I think, and he said, if you look at the stats for the last few years, it shouldn't be a surprise. So I think,
well, we're the team that doesn't run the most. We are usually the bottom 3 of teams who run the most.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
Mad.
And if you look at when Guardiola first came in at City and when Klopp first came in at Liverpool with those high-energy systems, there was a massive fade-off towards the end of them first seasons from those players. And you think Ollie's come in mid-season. He's tried to have a mini pre-season or mini mid-season in Dubai. Maybe that finished off what was already tired legs from a substandard pre-season tour, from the grind it felt like towards the end of Mourinho. It was nothing, and I can imagine that saps energy out of everybody. 2 games a week, dramatic last-minute winners. Eventually, it mounts up. We need a perfect pre-season this time around. Which, if Watford fucking somehow make us dead happy and dead sad on the same day. So here's what's mad, right? Isn't it? Is that you could go from elation that this most wanked off City team ends up with a League Cup, or the alternative is Liverpool can win a title. It's not a good place to be as a United fan at the minute. And one of them, the elation of watching Watford beat City, which normally would be popcorn at the ready for most United fans, puts us probably into Europa League qualifiers.
Well, this is what, this is the whole problem with United not being any good at the moment. You're having to, see your rivals, your closest rivals, do all this sort of stuff to you. I mean, it's an interesting point, this, because this pre-season, he needs a bit of a minor miracle in a way. I mean, he is saying, and he said it again, and obviously, he's saying the Glazers would recognise it, that, it's unrealistic to win the title next season, right?
Fair.
Yeah. But what you need to see some progress. So what I'm saying is, even to get progress, he needs a bit of a miracle this summer. Or a minimum, he needs what you just said, that pre-season not to be messed up, and he needs to get in 5 or 6 absolute belters, get rid of some real duffins.
Just first choice, because last summer we didn't get first choice. We got a third choice goalkeeper. That's not. If there's 19 points on the table, right, and arguably another 10 that De Gea saves us from with ridiculousness in the prior season. So you're arguably 30 points off before we even start, right? How are you clawing back an extra 10 wins in the league? With a third choice goalkeeper? No, right? With a backup right back that's played half a dozen games? No. With Fred? Maybe is he going to win a single point? He's an extra body in the midfield, but he wasn't a starter. That was our plan, to claw back 30 points. Yeah, no. Ridiculous.
That was a very bad summer of last year, the whole thing, because as you just mentioned then, the tour was something close to a joke, the way Mourinho handled that.
Well, I've heard some things about what happened from different players that it just, and also, I mean, there was one player that hadn't trained a minute and had come straight from going quite far in the World Cup. Yeah, and they was like, do you want to play today?
Yeah.
Like it's the school 11-a-side team.
Final game at tour, wasn't it? I mean, I mean, you don't need to know what's going on behind the scenes. Just how he started off his very first press conference, sort of saying, you know, this is going to be bad, basically. what are you doing? But anyway, so here we are, a year on-ish, 10 months on from that. I think it'll be listen, it doesn't materially get you wins, but I think it does help that it's happier now that he knows how to manage players. You know, I've done a little bit of work on him over there when he managed it in Mulder, and even at Cardiff. And one thing, players are still happy they coached him even now, even at both clubs. Well, he had a success at Cardiff. He didn't, he made it.
He actually took the
made
points per game up from what Malky had at Cardiff.
Yeah.
Which I guess is some sort of success in the grand scheme of things. But
so I think he's a good appointment. It's people now, as they always do in football, and I get it, are sort of saying, "Oh, he's at the wheel. It's all wheels are falling off." No, I don't agree with that. I think, he's close. It was 11 points behind the top four when he took over. It's now 4. That's an improvement.
Arguably, it should be none. He had reduced it to none at one point.
Yeah. I mean, but you can't legislate for De Gea doing that. Was it Everton, Chelsea, Barcelona? Do you know what I mean? Think how good he's been.
Luke Shaw's.
Yeah, there you go.
Luke Shaw volleys that into the stand, and United probably come away with 3 points.
Yeah.
But and that may even be enough for the top 4 if we win the last game. Just how bad everybody else has been. It's ridiculous this season.
Well, I'm quite interested actually. My son, who is a United fan, I've got him tickets for the game on Sunday against Cardiff. I'm interested to see, because I'll be covering it, what he does with that team. Ollie, will he if Greenwood's fit? I think he'll start because he basically said that about this game, but he wasn't fit. Will he do that? Will he bring in 2 or 3 others?
How can you not?
Because why not? Exactly. I mean,
I think I would love him. I think it'd be a real clear message to all those that he doesn't rate, or he's not happy with the attitude of, or he thinks that there's, I think Ethan Laird's probably not going to make it. I think he's focusing on the tour. I'd love to see Brandon Williams, Dylan Levitt, Jimmy Garner. I'd love to see 7 youngsters, and he just goes, go on, lads.
What's your view of McTominay? Because I'm quite impressed with him. I still think it's a bit early to say 100% how good he's going to be, but I think he's better technically than maybe people thought at the start, And
he's got great positioning. He's got a good attitude. He's got a good work ethic. I don't know why he shot from where he shot yesterday. That's probably
the reason why I mention him is he's obviously a product of your youth system, and he's a success. So you'd like to think 2 or 3 of those that you've just mentioned there.
Well, I think
to give him a proper chance. You know what I mean?
I think he's limited on the ball. If I don't want to be critical of him because I think he's having a good season, one of the few that can hold his head up. I thought it was really premature with what Jose did last year, giving him Manager's Player of the Year. I think that was mostly because he debuted him. Yeah. I think that he's a good squad player to have, but I wouldn't be building a team around him. I think he's very limited on the ball.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably about right from what I've seen. But, in a way, you want excellence, don't you? You want to build it. And this is, I don't know, Pogba for me is excellent. Yeah.
Well, you're looking at what City are doing, rumoured to be doing. Bringing in Bruno Fernandes, possibly Wan-Bissaka, possibly João Felix. You go, that's 3 of the brightest prospects in world football. I know Fernandes is a little older, but that's 3 top prospects in world football. And you go, that's unreal. They're replacing players before they're done, which is what United used to do.
Yeah, of course, it's. I'm just. Are you any further ahead than this time last year? I mean, in terms of points, you're way sort of off or a lot. Well, it was 81, was it, last year? Now you're 66, so that's 15.
Which was more points than we got in our treble season, which obviously means we was better last year than when we won the treble. Because that's the game now, isn't it? Fucking point counting knobheads.
I think you probably got not a better manager in terms of track record, but it gone sour under Mourinho.
Well, really?
You know what I mean? So. Why they gave him that new contract in the January of last year?
And then didn't back him in the summer.
Yeah, interesting. From what I understand about that, so at your place, there's obviously Woodward, but there's like a recruitment department who have a veto if they don't agree with the manager, believe it or not. Which I think you never debate about it. Anyway, a couple of names, a couple of ones that he wanted centre backs that they looked at the records, the recruitment department, and vetoed it. Now you can see if you're Mourinho, how that might cheese you off because he's the one who,
Well, yeah, because our defence is dog shit.
Yeah.
I can also look at the other argument as well and say, well, you did bring in Lindelof, although I had my reservations about him prior to coming in. He's definitely improved. You did bring in Bayer, but other managers have been able to replace their own signings. Look at what Pep's done at
Yeah,
City.
with
He's
the keeper,
replaced
yeah.
his own.
Yeah.
Not only that, how many centre halves has he signed? And also Klopp was able to replace his own centre half signings with Van Dijk. If everybody else is getting it, I think that he should have been allowed to.
Here's a scenario for you, right? Pogba is probably considering his options, almost definitely. He's a World Cup winner.
Sure
you're not in the top 4. I know you're probably not going to be that bothered about Lukaku, but here's another one. But De Gea is someone who I think it'll be surprised if he doesn't go. So you could, by the end of this summer, sorry, be a bit negative or doom and gloomy, be without De Gea, and then possibly a Pogba if he hasn't left, isn't going to leave, isn't happy still to be there. It's not great, is it? You know what I mean?
Well,
this is the problem Solskjaer's got. This is just one little part of what he's got to deal with.
I think, like we said earlier, I can see 5, 6 desperately needed that have got to come in and demand to be first choice players. Not, in 5 years. No, people like you go, we're signing him because he's the new right back.
Yeah.
We're signing him because he's the new centre half. Not like Fred, where he gets flung into the mixer of he's about as good as some of the rest of the midfielders. You need people that come in and go, I am the right back. If I'm fit, I'm playing. Go fuck yourself. Now we needed 6 of them, arguably, before anyone walks out.
Yeah.
So
definitely, not argue. Definitely, 100%. I mean,
the smoke around Pogba, real. The smoke about Lukaku, real. The smoke about Mata, real. Now we could easily see that entire Spanish clique, which includes Damian, weirdly.
Well, Herrera looks like he's leaving as well. Yeah. They
Herrera,
expect him to
Mata,
leave at the club.
Baye, Damian, all of they could all go.
I know this is.
And Dave could follow them.
So when you name all those, then you can see why maybe they felt they had to give Jones a new contract. They had to give Young. Now they're kind of not robbing Peter to pay Paul, but they're kind of fixing a problem with another problem, which is Young shouldn't be there. Should have been there 2 years ago. But can you see the sort of mess that there is there? And you haven't really touched upon.
But is that perhaps why the likes of Herrera going, oh, fucking sign it here when you signed him up?
Well, Herrera's understanding isn't getting paid loads. He's getting paid slightly better or about the same as some of the more junior first team squad, and he wanted about 200 and they were offering him, 120, 150.
And this is where Sanchez has come in and fucked the wage structure. Because
399 basic or something, is it?
Anyone sees what he's on and go, I'll tell you what, I'll go and ask for half what he's on, which is ridiculous.
If that football leaks thing is correct, and that probably is, he gets his 390, whatever it is, basic, but then he gets 75 grand every time he's picked.
Boom. And on the bench.
Surely if you're getting 400 grand a week, you expect to be, why? It's just...
So, anybody, if we can't sign Dave up now because Dave's going in and going, I want as much as he's on. And Pogba can be going, I want as much as he's on. And what can you say as a club? You fucked it. So, I think one priority is to get rid of him and have a wage structure that makes a bit more sense, even if we've paid him to fuck off.
Yeah. I mean, he got injured again yesterday, didn't he? He has been a disaster. So him and Fred are interested because City definitely wanted both of them.
Yeah.
And they seem to have dodged bullets because, neither of them have been great.
We could sign Lionel Messi this weekend, and I don't know if he'd look any good in our team because he's not going to get any chances.
He's perhaps the one player who might be able to save you, but alone. But no, it's... So, I just look at this summer now and think...
Well, every summer brings the same thing. It brings optimism because we're all fucking deluded idiots, aren't we? Right? And we all think that our board have got the best thing in mind, and not necessarily the case. And you just think, right, we'll get to summer, we'll sort it out, because that's what everyone who's a fan would do. You'd go, right, we'll sort this out this summer. And we all go into it with optimism. And you come out of it signing another third fucking choice goalkeeper, which we didn't need, and another fucking right back, which... arguably we did need, but maybe one that can actually play. And you're just like, what's the fucking point? We're linked with left wingers and right wingers again.
We haven't even talked about centre back, have we? And so, as we were saying earlier, Alderweireld, I think, is a £25 million release clause.
Free transfer.
Yes, I mean,
good centre half.
Sanchez could buy him for you and still have some money left over on what he's earned. I think he's earned about 30 mil or something. Anyway, so
fuck's sake.
Why don't you just go and get him?
At what point does it become cheaper to buy football clubs than buy players? How many clubs do you reckon valued in the 200-300 million mark? Probably not many.
So, yeah, I mean, and that says it all, doesn't it? If Alexis Sanchez can basically pay for a centre-back to improve you, that shows that something's not right and something's not wrong there. So, why don't they just go and get Alderweireld? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. He certainly wanted to go there last summer. I'm not sure too much will have changed. You know what I mean?
I don't get it.
And immediately your defence is better, right?
Immediately.
So...
I mean, you bring in him, you bring in even a Matt Doherty from Wolves, we're instantly better.
What's the midfielder? Is it Neves? What is it? That midfielder at that place?
Neves, Coutinho, Decore, Ndidi, Idrissa Gueye, all of these walk into United midfield.
This Herrera thing's interesting for me because
Fraser, got Fraser.
Yeah, but,
Probably wouldn't cost you 100 million.
Maybe this is what Solskjaer will do. It'll be clever, like Ferguson used to be, and mix it up. So he'll go for 2 or 3, as you say, established wows, and 2 or 3, ones that you wouldn't expect as much, but are going to improve you, because that's what's needed really.
It doesn't need to be. If the right guy for us is a free transfer 32-year-old in the Championship, that's the right guy for us. Doesn't matter what they cost, but we're just not doing it. If Dave goes then, which I won't be shocked. Do you think we'd replace him, or do you think we'd give someone like Dean Henderson a go? Player of the year twice on both
Not
times.
Romero then, no?
I like Romero. He's got a big Narcos feel about him, hasn't he?
No comment. I think you'd have to say now it'd be a surprise if he's still there, De Gea. You know what I mean? Come 1st of September, whenever the window closes.
This is the 3rd time he's tried to leave.
Yeah. But it's like with Pogba, I couldn't really blame him. I was looking at it as someone who doesn't really care what goes on there. Because I've got support that. What is De Gea now? 27. Pogba's 26. It's a shame really, because
Pogba's going to look for one big deal. It's either here, and it'll be matched what Sanchez has got, and probably the armband with it, which I'm not sure he's a good fit for, or he'll try and go Madrid or Barca or Paris or somewhere that'll pay him
a bit around Madrid.
Yeah, an absolute shed load.
But I mean, imagine you lose those two. It's not great, is it really?
How much more would have to happen for Leicester and Wolves and Everton to overtake us?
Well, again, he said this kind of on Friday. He said we need to be, because those teams you just mentioned are coming up on the rails, we need to be looking ahead rather than over our shoulders, because these conscious, you know what I mean?
You fucking look over your shoulder because they're going to be a threat.
Yeah.
I mean, manager of the year, Nuno Santo this season.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic with what he's done now.
To a certain extent, it's kind of, not out of control, it's too strong a word, but the club has almost become a bit too sprawling and everywhere. And so the reason why I say is when you talk about those clubs, Leicester and Wolves, it's a bit of an easy thing to say, but because it's a lot smaller, they're more streamlined, and kind of the football, they would never admit this at United, and they probably isn't the case, but you get this feeling sometimes football isn't the whole focus at United. Do you know what I mean? I'm being polite about it. Okay, I'm being polite about it. You know what I mean?
It isn't.
They make a heck of a lot of money, whereas the other clubs you mentioned, it is just football first, and there's quite a lot to be said for that, really.
But surely, if you're a businessman and you're a sports, I hate the phrase, but let's be honest, that is the world we're living in. If you're a sports franchise, it's easier to be the most profitable if you're fucking dicking everyone. Surely you're most attractive to sponsors.
Yeah.
So if you've got Ballon d'Or players coming out your ass, you're surely more attractive to sponsors.
Yeah, because that's what you trade on, isn't it? Yeah. Your pedigree, your history, your success. I mean, I think part of what happened was under Ferguson, obviously he was there for so long, United became kind of what they were in the 60s. Under Best was there under Busby, a massive glamour, winning everything. But then it kind of moved into this newer age, and when he left, there wasn't. We talked about this before. There wasn't the structure you needed. It's never really recovered from that.
Doing half a dozen people's jobs, really.
Yeah, because he could, and it sort of grew with him. If you understand. I mean, when he left, a lot of the stuff that as you just say, he was responsible for or could delegate well, just went with him, and they've never really replaced it. But I do think they are trying. I mean, it's this director of football thing, because that's initially what it was touted for. The story was in August. I did that story.
Didn't we have you on here after?
Yeah,
right after
exactly. So that's like 10 months ago, and they still haven't. It's not great. Part of it was Mourinho. That he was obstructive to it, but this is why I think.
But he went in December.
If you want, this is why I think we can make the case for optimism. He is now gone. You've got Solskjaer in. He's a lot more, let's say, equable guy. Good with people. A happier sort of soul. Club is. So now this summer, it is almost the best chance to reset. The reason why I'm sort of laughing a bit is I've said this a few times since he left Ferguson, but I do think this is a big chance. If they could just get it right, because you're out of the Champions League. That's gone. It's almost so kind of bad that you have to give this guy a chance. I'm just interested to see if he's given the tools. I think he thinks he's going to get them. He said the other day he's going to get 2 or 3 years. To be fair, Van Gaal, I know he got sacked, but he did get 2 years, no top 4. That's the end of him. You could say that's fair enough in a way. After, Mourinho could have still been here if he'd been more pleasant. He got 2.5, and Moyes was obviously a complete disaster. So they do give him a bit of time. They want to give him time, but it's just, can he?
There's 6 of us, arguably 8 of us, going for top 4 though next year. Because if you're Wolves are going to want to build on what they've done, and now that they build it, well, top 4 is the next step. Or top 6 probably is the next step for them. So they want to overtake either us or Arsenal, and who could blame them? Leicester probably a little bit further off, but same. Everton, well, they're a big club that probably wants to get back to being amongst that. We are looking at a league where if we're not part of that top 2 race, and we're not, we are in a mini league of our own, which, the success is still, you just qualify for a competition you're probably not going to win. But it's a glamour competition that you have to be part of. You have to be at that top table.
Yeah.
Even just look at the teams we've played this year in the Champions League. We've had Juventus, we've had Barcelona, we've had Paris Saint-Germain. We've not had fucking Ludogorets, Midgetland, and I don't fucking know, one of the ones that's just a load of fucking letters from Russia, which is who we're going to get next year.
Yeah, I was looking at the teams today, the countries, and they look like some nice away trips. It was quite interesting to see the reaction on Twitter from United fans with a bit of gallows humour, saying, this looks like a nice place in summer to go, and all that sort of thing. And some people were sort of, saying, at least it'll be an experience, but I don't know. It's difficult for me because I sort of cover both clubs and get to go to all these places, working. So I always feel lucky to do it. I imagine if you're a fan, it must be pretty. In this town as well, how good City are. I mean, I'm doing the game this evening. They might lose against Leicester, obviously, but the point is they're always up there because they've got the back of house stuff correct. What they've basically done, as we all know, is it's like Barcelona in Manchester. So you've got Big Aristine, Soriano. It's all set up for him, Guardiola. Oh yeah. I've read bits of it. Be interesting, and what happens when Guardiola leaves.
I bet no one at fucking United's read this. Management ideas from the world of football.
Sure they have. What happens when Guardiola leaves will be, in a way, will be a sort of different test of the system they've got there. But what I'm trying to say is, I think that is what they try to do at United.
Right or wrong, they had a plan.
Yeah.
And that plan was to recruit players for a certain style of play, which they implemented throughout the academy, for an eventual manager that they had in mind, which was Guardiola. Now, I'd fucking laugh my balls off if he goes to Juventus this summer. I think that's likelier than a lot of people are willing to admit. But they will probably then have a recruitment process on the back end of that and probably bring in someone like, I don't know, Nagelsmann or something. Yeah. It'll be well thought out and well pitched and well interviewed before they make that decision. And I don't have the same confidence that happens at United. Like, it was the appointment of Solskjaer. Feels like Fergie, me. If you have to ask me who appointed Solskjaer, I'd say Fergie. Because I reckon Ed Woodward had to Google who Mike Phelan was.
I'm not sure about that. As I keep on saying, this summer, let's see who they get in for this technical director role. Is that person going to be, whoever the manager is that person going to be, like Begaristeen at City, where, they embody the way you should play the play. Because you just said it then, and it's common sense really. The whole club should play the same way, top to bottom, academy to first team. They've got a women's team now there. They should play the same way like they do at City, etc., etc. And you kind of maybe this technical director thing. I keep on going back to because I think if they get Rio Ferdinand, then has he got the football actual knowledge? I know he's a great player and all the rest of it, but in terms of it doesn't know. He
was Paul Mitchell. Yeah. I think he played at like Burscough or something like that, but he's proved himself. I can't remember, it was somewhere like Shrewsbury or something now off the top of my head. He proved himself at Southampton, he's proved himself at Tottenham, he's proved himself at Leipzig. That's a track record. Yeah. Not, he's got a restaurant and a sweet, no, this is a guy that's doing it football style and,
But if they get Rio Ferdinand in and as you say, someone like Mitchell or someone who you like to think has just had more experience, that's smart, because I think it's a good idea to have like a glamour ambassadors, as you sort of said, whatever you want to call it. But
Madrid did it for a bit, didn't they? They used to have Zidane going talking players about signing for him. But again, it almost feels like it's a no-need job. It feels like it should be a no-need job.
Well,
Let me tell you all about Real Madrid. Oh, really? Like, I need to find out who are these? Where'd you play?
Well, that's what I said before. That I think it should. That all these different aspects should just be one person. That and Van Der Sar's the best. The sort of one of the. You could give me other examples, of course, but in terms of who's around at the moment, who's done the job, who's business smart, who's at United, I'm struggling to think of anyone's better, to be honest. Who would probably go there as well, even if, as you say, it might be a slight demotion for what he's got now.
Is it Bertra at Atletico?
Yeah.
Their scout department's fantastic. If he's got anything to do with that, then...
Yeah,
because here's the thing, innit, is like you look at what a club's doing, and it's hard to attribute what happens to which person.
Yeah.
But whoever's doing the scouting, I would have to say Atletico does it very well. They don't lose players very often, and they pick up good bargains, so you'd have to be like, well, I wouldn't mind it if United was like that.
What is success for you next season at United? What would you not want, but you'll sort of think, okay, fair enough.
It's black and white, innit? Like, so you just have to say progress. So you have to say we see a defined style of football from Ollie, which is what I'm hoping is what we saw January and February.
Yeah.
We see that we have a couple of real good wins again, because putting 5 past teams is good. Like, even at the peak, United didn't put 5 past teams. I don't know if that's because the league's different. I don't know if that's because they smell blood and absolutely go for it in a way we never saw United do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have to give them props for that. That when they slap a team, they really slap a team. I'd like to see us slap a couple of teams because it's been a while since we've done that.
Yeah.
Obviously we did it to Cardiff. I'd like to do more of that. And I think we've got to finish inside the top 4. Don't give a shit about Europa League.
Would you rather be out of it?
Absolutely,
would you rather? Yeah. Would you? Yeah.
Even just from a pure selfish personal point of view, it fucks up my entire social life. What I'm doing with my family and stuff when now I'm working to cover the matches on Thursday nights, which means I don't get out of here till 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. Which means no sleep to get my kids ready in the morning. And then it's a Sunday night, so it's not even a Saturday. Usually it's always a Sunday.
Yeah.
Everything changes. It's fucking minging. It's horrible. The only benefit for it is that you get to watch more youth, because often the United Academy plays on a Saturday, or Fridays, Saturdays and Mondays, never on a Sunday, thankfully.
Okay.
So it means I get to go and watch a lot of the Academy.
Right.
That's the only shining light of the absolute shit show that the Europa League is.
Okay.
Even the song's shit.
And you've won it as well now, haven't you? That's the other thing,
so we can't even go like, oh, yay. Oh, it's just shit, isn't it? Shall we leave it on that?
If you want to, yeah.
Jamie, thanks for joining us. Where
Cheers.
can we find you?
Guardian, website, Twitter at Jamie Jackson _3 if you want to give me lots of abuse for being a City fan, a United fan, a fan of the world, a fan of the moon, whatever it is you give me a hassle about.
How did the book sell?
Pretty well, thank you.
Got another one planned?
Well, I finished the quartet, so I done the other 3, but then I wrote a completely different one which I've been picked up on by a pretty top literary agent. So, let's wait and see what happens. But this guy's a good guy. Before he was an agent, he used to be a publisher. He published in ranking among other people, so he knows what he's doing. So keep watching. Let's see.
There we go. Right, Jamie, thank you very much. Right, enjoy the game later.
Cheers. I will do. Good football.
Go on. See you in the next one.